Habib with MBS Highway for American Dream TV. And right now, we're seeing some good news in the economy. You know, inflation is starting to cool down. You may recall that we talked about inflation, and we said that mortgage rates follow inflation, not the Fed. In fact, in recent months, the Fed's hike rates 1.25%, but at the same time, mortgage rates have come down by over 1%. So what gives here? You see, mortgage rates follow inflation. And right now, inflation seems to be slowing, but there's a lag in that. The way that it's reported is it counts the last 12 months. So as new data comes in, old data slowly starts to roll off. And the new data is very good for inflation, which is good news for mortgage rates and very good news for housing, because housing is very dependent on additional buyers coming in because of lower mortgage rates. They shot up so much that buyers were hibernating. But now we're starting to see a resurgence, just as we head into the perfect timing of that spring market. So the outlook is good, but what can we expect? First, let's talk about what to expect for inflation. So inflation is driven in great degree by housing. Now, housing represents, shelter costs represent almost 40% of one of the important inflation readings that the Fed looks at, and that's core CPI, Consumer Price Index, almost 40% of that. And you see, when you take a look at housing and shelter costs, they look at rents and owner's equivalent rent. There's a problem with looking at them. There's a huge lag with both of these indicators. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of a roller coaster. You see, in real time, we know that shelter costs are softening in real time. But the way it's calculated because of the lag in CPI is it appears in CPI that it's going up. Remember, when you were a kid and you went on a roller coaster, remember that first initial hill? There's actually a point where some of the people on the front of the roller coaster were headed lower, but the back of the roller coaster was still going up. Well, the front of the roller coaster, that's like what's happening in real time with shelter costs. But the back of the roller coaster, that back of the roller coaster is the way that it's reported in CPI because of the lag, pushing CPI up from that component still higher. So here's the good news. Now come April, all that roller coaster is going to start heading lower. We get that data on May 10th. You might recall I gave you a date November 10th way back, and that's the precise date when inflation started coming down and mortgage rates started coming down. I'm giving you another date here. Circle it on your calendar. May 10th. That's when you're going to start to see an additional move lower in mortgage rates. Now, they may jostle around a little bit between now and then and head a little bit lower still, but we see mortgage rates heading towards 5%. That's going to unleash a horde of buyers onto the market in a tight inventory environment. So when's the best time to get in? After prices start to go up, or while you can still get a bargain?